Why Humans Avoid War, Chapter 3. Kylon Point of View. I had feared that the humans might attack as soon as our ships entered the Sol system, but the fact that we were still here was a good sign. The Federation Senate had narrowly voted to confront the Terrans, with Speaker Eula being one of the most ardent supporters of the motion. Even with her political pull, many representatives were on the fence about taking action. The fate that had befallen the Devourers could easily be ours as well if we provoked the humans. Honestly, I think if it were their own species being summoned to action, the Senate would not have passed the proposal. But as always, they assumed that the Jatari, the Xanac, and the Hoda'al would do their dirty work, while they stood by and watched from the safety of their offices. I was less than thrilled about leading this mission. After all, we were risking Federation lives to protect the very people that had sought to destroy us. While the Terran's solution was extreme, I could at least understand where they were coming from, but it would be dishonorable to refuse a direct order. The last thing I wanted was to be branded as a traitor and a coward. Besides, if I commanded the fleet, I would at least be level-headed enough not to charge into battle against a superior army. I wasn't sure my cohorts, who had not witnessed human weaponry in action firsthand, would be so cautious, especially given that most Jatari officers viewed diplomacy as an admission of weakness. First Officer Blaise glanced up from his computer as we passed the first of the outer planets. "Sir, we are almost within missile range of Earth. Should we ready our weapons?" "Our orders are to stop them, not to attack them. If we get into a direct fight, we're doomed," I replied. "Let's hope that the humans still like talking. Hail Terran Command." Blaise opened his mouth to argue, then thought better of it. He silently input a few commands into his terminal, muttering under his breath. The few moments that the call went unanswered were nerve-wracking. I feared that the humans would simply ignore us. Relief washed over me as a familiar face blinked onto the view screen. Commander Rykov did not look well. His black hair was disheveled, his uniform was wrinkled, and dark circles had taken up residence under his eyes. This was a far cry from the radiant and confident man who had come to our rescue yesterday. It seemed that he should be resting rather than on the bridge of a ship, but I feared pointing out his condition would cause offense. The human officer stared into the camera, a pleading look on his face. "General, we strongly advise you to turn your ships around and stand aside." "I can't do that. What you're about to do is wrong. Intelligent life is sacred, and killing off an entire species is a crime against sentience," I said. "The Devourers have hardly shown that they are sapient. I'm surprised you of all people would rush to their defense," Rykov mused. "It hasn't even been a full day since they wiped out thousands of your ships. You and I both know if we hadn't shown up, they would have killed all of you without a second thought." I flinched. "Don't remind me. For all that they've done, I don't want to see an entire species slaughtered. That makes us just as bad as them. Their actions don't make yours right." Commander Rykov sighed. "Well, it seems we're at an impasse. I assume you're going to attack us if we don't stand down?" "We just want to talk. You don't have to do this. Your species has a moral code, right?" I took a deep breath, trying to collect my thoughts. What if there are innocent people, children and civilians, on their homeworld? "Look, I don't like what we're about to do, but I have my orders. We don't even know if they have civilians or if they can show emotion." "Exactly, we don't know. What's the harm in waiting and getting more information? Don't you want to know why they're doing this?" "I'd like to understand," Rykov tilted his head as though thinking. I suppose it wouldn't hurt to gather some intelligence. Hell, it might come in handy down the road. What would you suggest? Do you think you can capture one of their ships? We need to bring one of them in alive. Go. Yeah, I think we can do that, General. What would you say to joining us in person on our flagship? We would rather stand together than as enemies. I weighed my options. This could easily be some sort of human trickery, luring the highest-ranking Federation officer to their headquarters just to be imprisoned. Taking me out of the picture would disrupt our fleet's command. It was only natural to find their offer a bit suspect. But I figured if Rykov's intentions towards us were malicious, we wouldn't be having this dialogue in the first place. The Terrans had the ability to knock out our entire fleet in one fell swoop. Yet they had not fired on us. At any rate, I still owed the commander a great debt for saving my life. The least I could give him was a bit of trust. I'd be happy to join you, Commander, I answered. The hint of a smile crept onto Rykov's face. Excellent. We'll await your shuttle. Come alone and unarmed. Please order your ships to halt their advance and allow us passage. The transmission ended, and First Officer Blez immediately piped up. Sir, you can't seriously be thinking of going over there. I scowled at him, not appreciating my decisions being called into question. I have to. It's our only chance at talking the humans down. It will be the first time anyone has spoken with the enemy firsthand. Of course, any insight I could glean into the Devourer's nature would be priceless to the Federation. But I would be lying if I said my curiosity wasn't personal. I dilated into the possibility of demanding their reasons myself. Mass murder was not the solution, but our foes needed to be held accountable for the losses they had inflicted. 2 Terran soldiers were waiting in the airlock as my shuttle docked. The pat-down they gave me felt a bit invasive, but I suppose they just wanted to be thorough. Once they were satisfied that there were no weapons on my person, they led the way to the bridge. Compared to Federation vessels, the Terran flagship was downright ugly on the inside. The passageways were cramped, and the colors were a drab mix of gray and off-white. It was evident that the humans gave little consideration to design elements, rather focusing on packing the warship with as many weapons and stations as possible. I couldn't help but feel a bit claustrophobic as we navigated through a series of winding corridors and tight staircases. The hallway finally opened up into a wider chamber, which was lined with rows of computer monitors and a holographic display at the center. My first thought was that I had never seen such a disorderly command center in my life. Dozens of personnel were bustling about the place, tablets in hand, shouting at each other. How could they even function amidst such noise and chaos? Commander Rykov was at the heart of this madness, studying a projection of the Devourer fleet. 2 officers stood by his side. From what I overheard, it seemed that they were providing rough estimates of enemy capabilities and reviewing a plan. I grimaced and rubbed my forehead as I walked over to them. A headache was already setting in from the commotion. Welcome aboard, General. Rykov didn't look away from the holomap for a second. So I wasn't quite sure how he spotted my approach. We'll be leaving in a few moments. I trust you won't give us any trouble. Sit back and enjoy the show. All right, everyone to your stations. Rykov's voice raised to a booming shout, carrying over the background chatter. Set course for system 1964-A. Weapon systems on high alert. Boarding party standby. In an instant, all conversation ceased. The crewmates scrambled to their posts. A silent, attentive team replaced the mayhem in a flash. I marveled at how drastic of a shift it was, watching as they executed their assignments with trained efficiency. The duality of humanity was as evident in their day-to-day operations as it was in their martial policy. A familiar sinking feeling clasped my stomach as we slipped into hyperspace. There was a strange rattling noise echoing from the walls, suggesting that the ship was pushing the upper limits of its warp speed. The human craft leapt back to real space in a matter of minutes, on the fringes of Devourer territory. Our sensors are detecting a formation of 16 ships on patrol trajectory within weapons range, sir, a young officer called out. Commander Rykov nodded. Very good. I want all of the ships but one destroyed before they know what hit them. We disabled the last and board her. We need systems online so EMPs are off the table. Stick with conventional weapons. Let's go. I watched out the viewport as hundreds of missiles sailed towards the fleet. An indicator flashed on the display tracking the target blocks. It seemed that the computer was remotely piloting the weapons. The patrol ships pivoted around to face us, firing kinetic rounds in an attempt to destroy the projectiles. Their bullets connected with a few missiles, but with only seconds to react, there was no way to take out all of them. The human explosives punched through the metallic Devourer hulls like they were paper. The force of multiple simultaneous detonations ripped them down to their skeletons, tossing deformed metal in all directions. The only ship that remained was the straggler at the rear of the formation. A single projectile clipped the last cruiser, tearing a gash in its side. There was no way that vessel could jump away while venting atmosphere. A human transport approached the crippled ship. It was unclear what the boarding party would face inside, but after the unfettered might I had witnessed again, I had confidence that any Devourer resistance would be put down with little trouble. Rykov tapped his foot impatiently as his men swept the craft. Team leader, status report, please. Sir, we found 2 unconscious enemy combatants on board. Life support appears to have been shut off. A gruff male voice crackled over the speaker. We didn't hit their computer or their power. They did this to themselves. What? Attempting suicide rather than being captured. The commander trailed off. Get them back to your ship at once. Try to resuscitate them. Yes, sir. We're on it. I frowned in confusion. Why would the Devourers switch off their life support? Perhaps it was about honor, but it made no sense to opt for slow suffocation over a simple bullet to the brain. I had to hope that the human medics were as proficient as their soldiers. There were so many questions to ask, but dead men wouldn't give us any answers. That would be the end of Chapter 3. If you enjoyed, leave a like, leave a comment if you didn't like it or did. And hopefully you enjoy the next one you decide to listen to. Sweet dreams if you're going to bed, and if you have a full day ahead of you, I hope it goes well. Ciao.